Yes, Casanovians. I hope you boys are well. So, in this live stream, I wanted to talk to you boys about how cleaning toilets accidentally got me lots of women. So, I was meditating on this today. I was looking back over the story of my life, the chronology of my existence, and I always used to think that being a magician for 10 years was the thing that really helped me in the land of women. Like, when I decided to embark on my cold approach odyssey 4 years ago, I thought I found cold approach easy because of all the social reps that I'd put in from the age of 13, being a magician. And one sec, I'm just gonna open this window. And although this is true, although being a magician definitely helped make cold approach feel as natural as drinking water, I was looking back on when I was between the ages of 16 and 21, and I realized that I worked a lot of shit jobs, right? I was cleaning toilets and shoveling shit in a zoo at 16 years old. So that was like my summer job in between going to university. I was cleaning toilets, shoveling shit, waiting tables, sweeping floors. I was working behind the till. All of this was at the same zoo. It's called South Lake Safari Zoo. I wouldn't recommend going there. But anyway, this was a job that I did. I also stacked shelves in a supermarket. I worked in the caravan park. Before I got started with Cold Approach, my full-time job was I was a public speaker at the National Railway Museum in York. Um, and what I realized was working these shit jobs actually they accidentally helped me get lots of women. And like the reason for this was when I was shoveling shit, cleaning toilets, stacking shelves, helping people locate the turkey dinosaurs in aisle 6, these were public facing roles, right? So I was interacting with the general public on a consistent basis. I think the fact that I was putting these reps in the north of England, and if you know anything about northern England, it's a sort of place where you grow up fast, right? It's like the general public in the north of England, like working class people, it's like they've just got banter until the cows come home, right? They don't care if you're some like 16-year-old sniveling mess. They'll just give it to you straight. Like if you shit at your job, or if you're too slow on the till, or if their food is arriving late, or you didn't clean the toilets properly, they'll give you the feedback, right? They'll give you that no bullshit feedback. And I realize now that this was so useful to me as like a 16, 17, 18-year old kid because I was getting my social reps in early. I remember vividly there was one point when I was stacking shelves in this supermarket in the Lake District, and I remember I just hated that job. Like I hated clocking in every day. I hated interacting with the general public. I hated packing people shopping. I just felt like an absolute pauper, which I was at the time. Like, that's just what I deserved at that point in my life. Like I was deserving of stacking shelves, making minimum wage, working this dead end job, because I hadn't yet become the person that I needed to be. Right. So it's like we don't achieve dreams, we achieve standards. Yeah, it's like that's just where I was at that stage in my life. But then one day I decided to reframe it. I was like, right, Kristian, as things stand, we're not in the financial position, we've not stacked the necessary skills yet to deserve anything better than working this dead end job in this supermarket. So rather than hating it, rather than resisting it, why don't we instead reframe it? And the reframe which I use, and I think this will be really helpful to any young guy who is maybe working a shit job right now for minimum wage and it's getting you down, it's making you feel depressed. I realize that perception is very much reality, right? Nothing is good or bad. It's the thinking that makes it so. It's the interpretation that we attach to events and circumstances and scenarios, which really gives it the meaning. So I was like, I'm going to go and I'm going to stack shelves today. And the way that I'm going to frame it in my mind is I'm getting paid to be social, right? I'm getting paid to be social. I'm getting paid to speak to people. And just this reframe, sorry, I'm a little bit sway. Just this reframe, it made the job more manageable mentally. But then what I understood was like the impact that I'm actually able to have on the world is bigger than I thought. It's like it's not about changing the entire world. It's about changing someone's world. It's like you don't know where those positive reverberations are going to ricochet to, right? Just because I am friendlier or more polite to that woman in the supermarket, she goes home, she's a better mother to her children feel more loved, and then they try harder at school, and then maybe one day that child becomes a doctor and saves someone's life. It's like we've actually got no idea where these small acts of generosity are going to lead us to. And this is where my seducer world mindset came from. I understand now. It's like going out there with the intention of making people smile, like being the reason someone smiles, being the reason someone has a better day, a rising tide lifts all the boats. Because that's really all game comes down to. That's really all this comes down to, like in terms of seduction, getting what we want, attracting beautiful people and beautiful things and beautiful opportunities into our lives. It's just talking to people. Yeah, it's just conversation skills. It's just extending invitations and aiming to make the world 1% better every time that we go out there. I used to do this thing actually. When I worked in the supermarket was because I was a Christmas temp. Yeah, so I was like a Christmas temp. And then I would see people coming into the supermarket, people who were seriously struggling. Yeah, because like it's a similar environment to what I grew up in, right? I would look around, I'd see people struggling to make ends meet. Like money was always this scarce entity, and then I was like, I could actually make these people's lives better rather than focusing on me and everything that's wrong about my life. Rather than crying, I can actually use my small position of power to make a difference to the world. So what I would do is when people came to like pay for the shopping, as I was scanning the stuff through, I would reduce it. Like I would reduce their food, like without them knowing about it. And I don't know, it just felt like this win. I was like, wow, I'm actually, rather than going to like stack shelves and help people, whatever, it's like I'm gonna clock into this job today, and I'm gonna change the world. I'm gonna change people's world without them even knowing about it. So it's like, saving people 20 quid on their Christmas shop, or I don't know, just interacting, like actually making a deliberate effort to interact with all the people in the shop, having a smile on my face. Do you know what I mean? It's like I get to be here rather than I have to be here. It's like I get to be here. It's like I'm getting paid to develop my social skills. And it's like when I look at the person that I've become today, like these shit jobs, whether it was cleaning toilets or stacking shelves or working in the caravan park, it's like all of these jobs, they were almost like the stepping stones to what I'm doing today, because I really got a kick out of it. It was like, that was almost my gateway drug into helping people. And now when I'm coaching guys, when I'm changing people's lives, when I get testimonials, or, I meet my guys up in the cities and they're like, Kristian, you changed my life, dude. Like, thank you so much. Like, I was in a difficult position in my life. I thought it was game over for me. I thought I'd never be able to attract a gob-smackingly gorgeous girlfriend or a wife-worthy woman. Like, when I get that positive feedback now, it's like a similar feedback to what I got internally when I was just helping people who were struggling, just making their lives 1% better. Does that make sense? I feel like this is a Casanovian expostulation here, but like the best advice that I would give to especially any young guy, maybe you're like between the ages of 16 and 21 right now, it's like the actions that we take today, they are investments into the identity of the person who we want to embody, right? Like there's no way that I would be doing YouTube. There's no way that I would have become as good of a magician as I became. There's no way that I would have become as proficient with cold approach. There's no way I would have become as good of a coach as I am now if it hadn't have been for these small stepping stones, these public facing jobs where I learn at an early age that it really is all about interpretation. It's how we decide to interpret events. Like Plato said, people who tell stories rule the world, right? It's the stories that we tell ourselves which dictate the realities that we live. So now it's like, if I go out there and I get rejected 10 times in a row, I get to decide how that affects my mental psyche. I could be like, oh, I'm an unlovable piece of shit, or oh, they just weren't my girls, right? I'm either going out for those fuck yeses or fuck nos. So it's like I'm able to actually manage my own mind by being selective about the stories that I tell myself. But I find most guys today, especially the guys who I work with, like the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the high achievers, they are crushingly cruel commentators of themselves. They don't celebrate their own wins. They don't have anybody who actually believes in them. And also, I think What's interesting as well, I think what actually makes me such an excellent coach is when I'm working with my guys, right, the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the high achievers, it's like I'm the first voice they've had in a long time, which just tells them what they need to know rather than what they want to hear. Like the way that I operate my life is I am no bullshit. I'm no bullshit with everything that I do. So like if one of my guys comes to me, he's like, "Oh, Kristian, like this happened, that." I'm like, right, like let's just stop focusing on these irrelevant issues and let's focus on the things that we can control, right? So it's like if a guy applies to work with me and maybe he's out of shape, maybe he dresses terrible, maybe his conversation skills suck absolute balls. It's like I will penetrate straight to the source, tell him what he needs to know rather than what he wants to hear. That's why I always say a day with me is worth a year on your own because I don't know about you, but a lot of the guys who I work with, they don't have anybody in their immediate circle who can just give them this no bullshit feedback. Usually people are scared of giving them feedback or telling them what they don't want to hear because they've got status. You know, they're respected in their industry. They've got the glittering career. They've got the status. It's like the big Billy Big Bollocks in the fucking industry. It's like, dude, this is what's wrong. This is how we fix it. And that's why my guys get the results that they do. But yeah, I just thought this was an interesting live stream because I realize now that it's this kaleidoscope of experiences that I've been having since 13, but then 16 years old when I actually went into the working world in the, you know, the working class jobs that I had, like these public facing roles. It was like, you know, grow up fast, like adapt or die. Do you know what I mean? I think the final thing I'll say, I think it humbled me as well because now I'm in a position where I'm living my international lifestyle. I'm changing lives for a living. I get to travel the world and work with just amazingly, impressively awesome people. But it's like, I think the fact that I started off in the mud, the fact that I started off with absolute nothing, the fact that I've been documenting my life, one live stream at a time, like you can go back to the earliest videos on this channel and see how much of a sniveling mess that I used to be. I think it gives me more empathy as well. Like I don't look down on people now. You know, if there's a guy who's like sweeping streets or cleaning tables or cleaning toilets, I'm like, yeah, dude, I've been there myself. Like I get it. I get it. But actually the final thing that I'll say is like before I was saying we don't achieve dreams, we achieve standards. Yeah, in life we don't get what we don't get what we deserve, we get what we think we deserve. And I always remember when I was working these shit jobs, I would interact with the other people who worked there, like my colleagues, and you know, some of those people had been in the same job for the past 30 years. Like they'd been like, you know, sweeping shit, cleaning toilets, waiting tables. I remember there was always this negative attitude every time I clocked into work. It's like these people had settled for the standards they set for themselves. It's like that's what they believed they were deserving of. But for me, it always felt like a halfway house. Like I always knew I was destined for greater things. I always felt deep down in my soul that I was special. And I almost viewed all of these stepping stones as God's way of helping me develop character. But like, it was never the final destination for me. And I think that's why I was able to navigate it in the way that I did, because I was like, yeah, this is just setting me up in the future for the person that I need to become. Like, I never really saw that as being my identity, right? I didn't see myself as a shelf stacker or a shit shoveler. It was like, it was just like a temporary position that I needed to go through, almost like a rite of passage. And it was the exact same thing, like with Call Approach, like going out there, getting rejected, getting myself recorded, realizing how shit I was, like getting a lot of undesirable feedback from the internet in the same way that when I was working in the zoo, the caravan park or the supermarket, people would be like, oh, you're so slow on this till. Oh, my food's late. Oh, like you need to clear this table. It's like, I was like, it's almost like I was hardened by that from an early age. So like all of the inevitable vicissitudes that I encountered in the Cold Approach marketplace, I was like, yeah, cool, I've been here before. Like I'm used to undesirable feedback. I'm used to getting rejected because I spent 10 years as a magician. And so it's like, you know, if I put myself on camera and people are like, oh, you're ugly, you're a 4 out of 10 at best, this guy looks physically disadvantaged. It's like feedback. So yeah, I think that's the main thing I want you to take away from this live stream, boys. It's like wherever you're at in your life at the moment, we do get to decide the interpretation that we attach to it, right? Nothing is good nor bad. It's the thinking that makes it so. It's all about interpretation. It's like everything that happens, all of these events are inherently neutral, and we can choose to cry or we can choose to conquer. We can choose to wallow or we can choose to win. Like I remember when I was commuting to my 9 to 5 at the National Railway Museum, it was always about future projecting. It was like, right, this is where we're at right now, but who are we gonna be? Who are we gonna transform into? Like, almost like just like viewing the tapestry of my life as this chronology of content. Like, one day this is gonna be the best story ever. Like, I'm gonna document. I'm just gonna document the whole thing. So it's like I want to become so unreasonably successful that nobody can throw any excuses at me anymore. It's like, oh, Kristian, I grew up with nothing. Oh, Kristian, I'm ugly. Oh, Kristian, I work a shit job. It's like, yeah, dude, yeah, I've been there as well. But like, the only difference between me and you is like, I just work like a savage. I just put in the reps. I had irrational faith and delusional optimism in my own capabilities. It's like, I ain't stopping. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've got radical ambition. I've got things that I want to achieve. I've just dropped a shit ton of money. I'm working with like a multi-millionaire at the moment because I want to elevate, I want to expand, I want to evolve. And it's like, yeah, I hope that you're on that frequency as well. I hope you're on that freedom from bullshit frequency that you just want to win. You want to dominate. You want to just outperform that former version of you who wanted to play it safe. So yeah, I hope that you found this useful. If you want to get my free courses, then I'll link them below. They basically give you everything you need to get started and get results with cold approach. I would definitely advise you to get my most fuckable man course because I go deep into like mindset, like inner workings, the frameworks that I use to achieve anything that I want, like, you know, just where I was to where I'm at now. I bridge that gap for you boys. So yeah, I just wanted to talk, to be honest. I hope that the things that I put out there into the world fill you with optimism. I'm doing a live stream every single day, even when I'm not in the mood, even when I'm sweaty as shit, even when I feel as though I actually don't have that much to talk about today. It's just like press play, press record, let's go. Just turn up to the shit job. Just have that delusional optimism that things are going to work out in your own image. And then, yeah, just be relentless. Do you know what I mean? Just be relentless. Just like, you know, the person that you are today, it doesn't mean that you have to be that person a year from now, a decade from now. It's like think in terms of decades rather than days. Think in terms of months rather than minutes. And I think, yeah, we'll get to where we want to get to. So yeah, I'll link the free courses below. Download them, access them, and then transmute information into implementation. Don't be the guy that sleepwalks through life, wakes up when his bestie is behind him. Don't die with your music still inside of you. I wish you obnoxious success in everything that you do. I love you boys very much, and I appreciate you. All right.